I named it Aftersolo, which was named after my dog. He had just passed away, and his name was Solo, so I named it Aftersolo.
That was the voice of February Trucker of the Month, Adam Mackey, headquartered in Mustang, Oklahoma, near Oklahoma City, and trucking in a Freightliner Columbia he's put quite a lot of DIY care into through his years of ownership. And that you'll hear him detail in today's edition of Overdrive Radio for March 9th, 2026. He was talking about the name of his YouTube channel, Aftersolo, which started in 2022 and has since served as a repository for various and sundry of the owner-operator's maintenance and modification projects on the Columbia. Likewise, all manner of other topics around the business of owner-operator trucking you'll hear him reference in the talk through his history and business that follows. I'm Todd Dills, and first, though, it's been a week in the world oil markets, no doubt, right? If you've been paying attention to overdriveonline.com, you'll note with an update about a week ago that we passed $4 a gallon here in Nashville just after the U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran. And today I can report that, well, we've passed $5 for a gallon of diesel here. Well above $6 out on the West Coast, of course, and elsewhere. If you're in a leased operation or working with shippers where you benefit from fuel surcharge rate adjustments, here's hope those are updating quickly enough to cover the rapidly increasing costs. If you're working with brokers, don't be shy about educating them in negotiations such as they may need it about cost offset needs and the rate. I'm sure it's been a week already of that for many of you. As I wrote last week, it's a real shame the diesel run-up has come when it has, given real gains in freight market strength of the last several months. This all certainly throws a wrench in those gears, as it were. Find my Overdrive Extra post for Thursday, March 5 for a close look at how you might game out your own costs and profits with our load analyzer calculator. Post a link to it in the show notes for the podcast and in the March 9th post that houses the podcast at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio. The load analyzer you'll find at overdriveonline.com/load-analyzer, and keep tuned for more quite soon, too, on how quickly spot markets are adjusting, or not, to last week's dramatic run-up. In today's podcast, hear the independent Mosermackey Trucking business owner Adam Mackey's story in his own words. If you missed our feature about the Trucker of the Month last month, Mackey's been in business with authority now since just before the COVID pandemic, after years hauling as a company driver with Old Dominion Freightline and some other outfits before that. Mackey, from his very start in business for himself, has trucked with his authority and has focused most on flatbed loads, filling in with power-only work of various types too. He's set up with a go-to broker he's built a solid relationship with for much of his oil field-related freight today, sure to benefit at least from oil market run-ups in the short term, despite added costs for his and every other trucking business out there. When we talked several weeks back, though, Mackey was back home in Mustang after a local delivery of bagged concrete.
Mainly what I haul is oil field pipe. That's probably, I would say, 75% of my work. And then a lot of the other stuff is back hauls, just pretty random. I do a lot of loads off of the load board, the spot rates, but mostly oil field pipe.
Cool. Was this one to get you back home, or?
Yeah, it was just to get me back here. Just went up to Kansas. I generally stay within about a 500-mile radius of home, but every now and then I'll go outside that, maybe up to North Dakota or something like that, or to Denver. But okay. I'm pretty much either local or regional. Yeah, it's just one truck and trailer. It's the same truck and trailer I started with. It's a 2007 Freightliner Columbia, just a 112, so it's got the real short nose on it. Okay. And then trailers, it's a flatbed trailer, a 48-foot trailer. Yeah, C13, and I haven't done any modifications to it. I just kept it stock, but yeah, it's C13 Cat, so I have to go to Cat sometimes to get parts because Freightliner doesn't have them. They'll have it if it's Detroit, but they don't have Cat parts. It's 430 horsepower. Okay. And then it's gears is 342. Okay. And it's just got an Eden Fuller 10-speed transmission. So Not doing anything, over 80,000 pounds with it, but it does the job. I've seen other Freightliner Columbias with cat motor. Some of them even have the C15, which I kind of wish mine had that. But it's just kind of an oddball. Most of them either have the Detroit or the Mercedes. Seems like.
Has it been overhauled in its life?
Well, I bought it from a guy in Kansas City, and he had just dropped a new motor in it, so that's the reason I got it. He had all the records from it from the time he bought it, so it had pretty good records kept on it, and that's something that I was really looking for was, to see the history. Well, it was a short block. He bought it from Kenworth, and then he had a local shop there put it in. So that's what got me to buy this truck, because I didn't want to buy something that was, it was time for an overhaul on it.
Owner-operator Adam Mackey's flatbed is a 2005 Utility. And he's got a rental agreement with a gas station owner nearby to park the units together when he's home, most nights.
I wish I had room here, but I'm in town, and I can drive the truck here and park it in the driveway, but the trailer, I keep it at a gas station, and I just pay that guy monthly rent. And there's a few other trucks that park up there. So it's kind of hard to find parking around here. There's not a whole lot of places. I'm fortunate that I have that because it's within walking distance. It's, 3 or 4 blocks. I've been there for probably 5 years. And one of these days, maybe we'll have a place big enough we could park the whole rig. It's nice I can bring the truck over here too and work on it in the driveway.
Is he cool with you working on it at the gas station?
I've done that every now and then, like with the trailer, I'll work on it up there. But I have so many of my tools here that if I work on the truck up there, I usually have to make 5 or 6 trips back and forth to the house getting tools.
More about Mackey's hands-on maintenance approach later in the talk, after a break for this word from Overdrive Radio sponsor, House Products. So keep tuned.
Out here, every mile matters, so make every mile count. Diesel fuel is the lifeblood of your engine, and the cleaner it is, the better your truck performs. That's why there's Howe's Diesel Defender. It removes water, boosts lubricity, and cleans your entire fuel system, helping you burn fuel more efficiently and squeeze every ounce of power from every drop. Used at every fill-up, Defender means more efficiency, better performance, cleaner fuel. If you're counting miles, count on Diesel Defender from Howe's.
Stay tuned for a new member of the Howe's Hall of Fame around the March 26th to 28th Mid-America Trucking Show in Louisville, Kentucky, where you can visit with company reps to learn more about the Diesel Defender and all of Howe's fuel treatments. Find them online, too, via HOWES. That's howesproducts.com. Now, February Trucker of the Month, Adam Mackey. The Oklahoma native hasn't always lived in the town of Mustang where he's based now. He tells here his CDL origin story, which stretches back to a childhood on his family's small farm.
I live in Mustang, Oklahoma right now, and I've been up in the city since 2008, I believe, or 2006. And then before that, I grew up in Okemo, Oklahoma, and it's about 100 miles east of here out in the country. I grew up on a farm. I never really rode in or drove semi-trucks growing up. It was a really small farm, and we just had, like 2-ton trucks. So I did get some experience with those, they older trucks that just had like 4 speeds in them. And I got to see, some semi-trucks come out to the farm every now and then, but didn't really have any experience with them until I started running heavy equipment, and that was in 2006. The company I was at, they would let you run anything. They would just tell you to get in it and figure out stuff. And sometimes they would have a water truck there, or a dump truck, and they just say get in it and just figure it out. And that's kind of what got me interested in trucking. And there was a guy that would deliver equipment on a low boy, and he seemed like he was doing pretty well. And I talked to him a little bit, and then it was 2009 rolled around, and company, they weren't doing very well. It was after 2008, and we were getting laid off a lot. Just weren't getting that many hours a week, and that's when I decided to go to truck driving school there, Central Tech in Drum Ride, Oklahoma. And I actually had unemployment paid for it. I know a lot of people don't even know they'll pay for it, but they paid for my trucking there for the school and for the room and board, which was nice. And yeah, I was there for a month, and then I got hired on with the over-the-road company, and I was with them for, I believe it was about 7 or 8 months, and that really wasn't for me. I seemed like I was sitting at the docks more than anything, and I just wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I was gone all the time. You get one day off for every week, basically. I ended up hiring on with a local carrier in Oklahoma City, and just delivering freight, with little pups and sometimes 48 footers with lift gates. And I did that for about a year with that company, but with them, half of the work was at the dock, and that was kind of, a lot of the guys didn't like that. Most people at that company would be there about a year and then they would move on, and that's what I did. A lot of guys I knew, they got hired on with another company, and we all, quite a few of us, we went over there, and I was with that company for 7 years doing local work. That was the reason that most of us went over there. It's like, oh, no dock work. Yeah, we're sold on that. That was Old Dominion Freight.
Old Dominion, okay.
And I was with them for 7 years, and it was a good company to work for. But there was a guy I worked with there who he was there for about 2 years, and he went and I think it was in 2014. He started his own business.
That was Mackey's friend and colleague, Felix Ibeka, who continues as an owner-operator today and whom you'll find mentioned and quoted in that story about Mackey, about his evolving relationship to the owner-operator as not only colleague, but mentor of a fashion, each to the other, in fact. Both of the owner-operators tell a similar story in that feature about Mackey published at the tail end of last month. At once, it took a good long time before the influence really began to flow both ways between the owner's operations.
And I talked to him over the years, just a little bit here and there, and he was always trying to get me to get my own authority, become an owner operator. And he finally talked me into about 4 years later. Yeah, and I ended up buying my own truck and trailer just outright. I just cashed out quite a bit of my 401k. I didn't want that truck payment. Did that, and me and my wife were actually living in a school bus at the time because we were trying to save money. Yeah, living in a school bus. And
you still have that?
We don't have the school bus anymore. We ended up selling quite a few items because it was probably 3 months into the business, and the truck, it had all kinds of problems right off the bat. It had it blew one of the rings on the fuel injectors, and that was in Albuquerque. And I got stuck there for 10 days, and then had a cracked head, and I ended up having to sell. We sold the bus, and I had a Mustang I sold a 4-wheeler, and it was like everything. We got to sell all this stuff to cover these expenses. And yeah, that first year was hard because I remember that at one time, I think I was down to just like $200 with the business. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but we ended up making it out of it. And it's a shock though when you discover the prices for trucking, because you used to paying for, car prices, and it's a totally different world.
Adam Mackey's come a long way since, learning fast during that initial year's trial by fire of sorts. If you've seen the Trucker of the Month feature about him, you'll know what Mackey's talking about in what follows. A set of cabinets he put together with doors that open to reveal on their backs 2 dry erase boards that serve as comprehensive reminders of intervals for maintenance items on one side and payments due and other key compliance dates on the other. It's quite a meticulous approach to physical reminders that Mackey today extends also to various record-keeping areas too. I'll post a link to the feature story in the show notes here, where you can also watch a video in which he explains the approach at his Aftersolo YouTube channel.
It works out really well. I like the dry erase boards, and my wife she wanted it covered up, so I said, well, I'll make a case for it so I can cover them up. But it's one of the things. It takes a little while to put it all together, but once it's put together, it's really easy to keep up on everything with it.
Were you so meticulous when you first started this, I guess? Did things change after the run of bad luck? How did you evolve after that? Those early experiences, I suppose.
Yeah, things changed quite a bit. When I first started, I was used to just getting a guaranteed paycheck every week, and you didn't really have to worry about that kind of stuff. Just a totally different world. And I was kind of forced to suddenly start keeping track of everything and making sure I know where my money's going, and making sure I'm doing enough work every week. And yeah, it's a lot. It made me way more organized and more meticulous with everything.
Did you have a customer in mind when you first got going, or was it kind of a situation where you just jumped in, load board, took advice of your friend?
Yeah, I just jumped on the load board. That's what he was doing.
Okay.
He was doing a lot of stuff around Houston and around Louisiana, and he was kind of regional, but he was out a lot of the time, hardly home ever. And I just kind of ran the way he was running at first, and he really helped me out with a lot of things, like as far as securing loads and everything, because I was working at Old Dominion, and that all I did was pull vans and pups with them, so I didn't really have any flatbed experience. But yeah, he helped me out with a lot of things.
Over time, you found or sort of worked on building relationships with folks that could kind of keep you doing something regularly, which it sounds like that's what you're doing today. How did all that proceed and progress for you?
I know with the pipe, that didn't come along until about early 2022. And that guy, he just happened to drive by my truck and gave me a call, and he said, "Hey, I've seen your truck over here and just thought I'd give you a call and see if you need some local work." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And since then, I've done a ton of work with him. He calls me 3 or 4 times a week, it seems like, with local stuff.
That'd be fellow Mustang, Oklahoma resident and Silver Moon Energy Services owner, Daryl Martin, who lauds Mackey's dependability and follow-through, no doubt.
And then before him, I had a few people that not quite as consistent, more seasonal type work. They call me up every now and then. And one of them, I was working with Landstar, and they were keeping me pretty hooked up and hauling bagged concrete with Oldcastle. And then they brought in a new company that just took over everything. And so all the owner operators, we had to find something else to do. But they'll call me every now and then if a truck breaks down, or maybe if somebody's on vacation.
Is that what you were doing today?
No, that was a different load.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I have a few brokers who will just kind of call me out of the blue, and so that's kind of nice to have. And then the load board, every now and then I'll get on there. It's kind of hard to find good paying loads on there. Seems like you got to be on there all day. As soon as that load pops up, you got to call on it, and that can be kind of tiring doing that. And it's always nice when I get a call. I get a call from one of the brokers when I'm doing that. It's like, oh, I don't have to be on here all day anymore. I mean, it's still quite a bit of my income. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a pain, but I make do with it.
What load boards do you use? Do you have one particular account that you rely on, or?
I mainly use truckstop.com. I use and also have DAT, which they're pretty good for power only loads.
Adam Mackey to date's not run into an instance of out and out non-payment from a broker, he noted. Testament to the work put in to get familiar with just who's good and who's not, and more vetting he's built into his routine when working with an unfamiliar broker.
I've had a few occasions where it took them a long time to pay, but so far, knock on wood, I haven't not been paid. Just got to be really persistent with them. I always check their credit though before I use them now.
What do you do for that in terms of credit checking?
I use a factoring company. I used to be TBS, and then Love's took over. Yeah, I go through them to check their credit. Just go to the app and put in their MC number.
You do most all your own maintenance there? Is that am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I do most of it. The only thing I don't really mess with is internal engine work. I don't really mess with that. And then maybe really heavy stuff like if I was going to change out the clutch, I'm probably not going to do that. But everything else I'll do, like brakes and shock absorbers and stuff like that. I got quite a few videos on my channel showing all that stuff.
You got drum brakes on the truck and trailer, or disc?
Yeah, it's drum brakes. Probably actually need to change those out here pretty soon. It's getting close.
How many miles are on the truck overall? Other than the fact that it's a newer engine.
Yeah, the truck itself has about 1.35 million miles on it. The engine so far, I've put about a little over 500,000 on it, and I think the guy before me, he didn't put that many on it. He just had it put in.
Is that about typical for you in terms of so you've had the truck for what six and some change years on it, so you're running 70,000 miles a year, something like that. My math is probably off there, but anyway.
No, you're pretty close. It's 60, 70,000. It varies, but I'm not doing 600 miles a day, nothing like that, but try to keep the miles off of it. I feel like if I can keep the miles off of it, get more life out of the truck, The
goal should be to run the fewest miles possible, but at the highest rate possible, and that way you keep the wear and tear down on the engine. Anyway,
spot on. The loads I run from home, I'm looking at $4 a mile at least, and then loads coming back, $2 to $3 a mile usually. So it averages out pretty good if I can get it loads coming back. But usually, paying $4 a mile or more, it's fine if I come back empty. I still make money. Yeah. So just finding a load coming back is just a bonus.
People used to talk about that, to take your backhaul with you.
Yeah. It's funny, the guy who really got me into it, he was gone like all the time when I first started doing this, and it's funny because I was like, I didn't really want to be out all the time and sleeping in the truck, and I figured out how to kind of be home a little bit more often and do more local work, and then he kind of caught on to that and started doing what I'm doing, and now I think he's home every day now. Like he's 100% local, so I think I'm out more than he is now.
It's close, but not quite the case, I found after talking a bit with owner-operator Felix Ibeka, who did note, though, that he's certainly shifted his operation, inspired in part by Mackey, and is definitely home more often than he was in years prior to Mackey's burgeoning success building freight relationships away from the load boards. As even folks who work at truckstop.com and DOT would tell you, the best freight never sees the board, ultimately, as it's those business-to-business relationships the best owner-operators and brokers are able to build among each other that net both parties the dependability they bank on for their most important freight. You heard Mackey mention his YouTube channel a moment ago, where, as noted, you'll find a myriad of short videos chronicling various maintenance work he's done, an effort to provide a resource to peers in a way somewhat similar to current reigning Trucker of the Year, John Penn, who took to YouTube after noticing a relative dearth of content there around maintenance on his own later model 2019 Freightliner Cascadia.
A lot of times when I would research things on YouTube for my truck, it was really hard to find good videos on them, and I thought, well, I'll just make my own, and I actually refer back to my own videos sometimes when I'm working on things, but and then like, well, I want it to be just more than repairs and maintenance. I'd like for it to be just kind of all things trucking. So I talk about other things, like trying to stay healthy as a truck driver, and some of the ins and outs of being independent owner operator. I do a lot of load securement videos. They seem to do the best out of all of them.
No two loads are the same, so it's just kind of like, yeah. I think those are probably helpful to people just to see, how other people do various things. It gives them ideas.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot from the comments on there from people suggesting things. That's pretty interesting. Learning better ways to do things.
Adam Mackey also documented the addition of a set of square stacks in recent years, unlike anything I can remember seeing before. I asked him where he got that idea. Fittingly, it was a matter of wanting to dress up the rig a little, but also keep costs manageable. Here's Mackey again.
Originally, I wanted to do chrome stacks, and I got to looking around price-wise on that. This is a little too expensive for me, and like, well, I can just make my own and make something that'll last forever. And I said, well, you never see anybody with square stacks, and I've seen a couple pickups with them, but never really a semi. And I thought, well, I'll just go down here in my local metal shop, and they had some 6-inch square tube in there, and I just put them together, and they've worked out really well. It really gives the truck a unique look.
They are black, right? And that's just the color of the metal there, right?
Yeah, I have painted them though.
Okay.
I painted them black. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to keep them from rusting. I think it's $500 to do that, and the stacks I was looking at, the kits were, $2,500 to $3,000 at that time. I'm sure they're more now. I've done a lot of things to that truck. It was, you probably saw from the pictures, it was just pretty much bone stock when I got it, and did a lot of work to it. Put on that bumper up front, and the headache rack, stacks, camera system.
What's the camera system that you use in it? Is it all the way around the truck, or just a few in a few select spots?
I got it from Falcon Electronics. They're in Austin, and it's their system that's made for semi trucks, and 8 camera system, and it comes with a 10-inch screen, and I got 3 of them facing forward, and then I got 1 on each mirror facing back, and then I have 2 that are way up high that face back where I can kind of keep an eye on my loads. And then I got 1 on the very back of the trailer, which that's a really handy camera to have, because you can get really close to things without hitting them. Yeah, it's probably one of the best investments I've made. The main reason I got them was because I was going down I-20. I just left Midland, going down I-20, headed back east, and a truck in front of me, he hit his brakes, and his brakes locked up, and his truck just spun around, did a 180, and was facing me, and I got in the left lane and managed to just barely get out of his way, but I watched him in my mirror, and he just kind of slid off the road and hit the guardrail, and that's what got me to buy the camera system, because I was like, man, if I'd been involved in that wreck, who knows what would have happened without some sort of camera, that captured all of it. And I've managed to get quite a few really close calls with him, and I've actually put a few of them up on my channel, but so far, knock on wood, haven't gotten any crashes, but quite a few close calls that you look back on the footage and it's like, wow, that's lucky on that one. Like, I had a car pull in front of me one time, and I was going probably 65 down the highway, and I had to swerve to the right, and I had a real tall load, and truck almost rolled on me. About lost control of it, but cameras captured all that, and you could see the car got about 6 inches from going underneath my trailer.
I think you said you are filing on 1120S tax forms as a S corporation.
Yeah, that's the way my accountant suggested was the best way to set up everything. With taxes, I still have the same accountant, and the biggest change I can think of is the pass-through entity taxes, which saves a little bit of money, I guess, but I don't know. I just kind of leave it all up to him, and seems like they change tax laws every year. Yeah, this last year was actually one of my best years as far as profit goes, which I'm glad, because my truck repairs and maintenance was a little high for last year, but it seems like about every third or fourth year it'll be a little higher than normal. But yeah, COVID was a little rough. It was kind of weird driving around with nobody out there on the roads. But I stayed busy enough. And then 2021 was a really good year, that bounced back. And then the year after that was kind of went back down again, and I think now it's more leveled out. Seems like 2024, 2025 seems like it's leveled out. I try to base my expenses on like my worst year, I try not to live like high on the hog,
You guys think ahead? You guys thinking real far ahead in terms of the future of the business, planning for retirement in the future, putting money aside, those kinds of considerations, or maybe are you thinking about expanding into a multi-truck business, or are you just this point stay the course, and hope try to optimize what you're doing as best you can?
Yeah, I think at this point it's just stay the course. I like just being a one-man operation. And yeah, we have some money we're putting aside for retirement. Yeah, got to have that. I probably wouldn't do any of it if it weren't for my wife. She's really good with that kind of stuff.
Okay, what is your wife's name? Is she involved pretty closely in the business, or?
She definitely is. Yeah, her name's Rebecca. She's right here listening. But yeah, she helps me out a lot with the business. With she'll make all my meals and stuff if I'm going to be gone for 2 or 3 days, and that's a huge help there. I don't have to stop and try to get stuff from the truck stops, and I just have everything with me. She'll pick me up whenever I need to be picked up, and sometimes I'll get her out there to help me do something on the truck, so she gets a little bit of grease on her hands. But, yeah, and she, any major decision I make with the company, I'm always talk with her about it. So couldn't have done it without her, that's for sure.
Credit where credit's due, no doubt. And the Mackeys are building back that retirement savings after the initial investment for the truck and trailer coming from Adam's prior 401k. With weekly set-asides and an IRA, he's got some decades on the road ahead, though, no doubt, and clearly in command as Mosermackey Trucking. Here's a big thanks to February 2026 Trucker of the Month, Adam Mackey, for his time. He's in the running for our 2026 Trucker of the Year award, and you can get into the running yourself or nominate another owner you admire via the initial form at overdriveonline.com/toptrucker. Find that link in the post that houses this podcast for March 9th, 2026 at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio, or in the show notes wherever you're listening. You'll find Overdrive Radio on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any other listening platform. Leave us a review there if you're enjoying these, and here's a big thanks in advance for it. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Wemmick, Kerry Tusocks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, senior editor, Matt Cole, executive editor, Alex Lockey, and video editors, Lawson Rudisell and Andrew Glenn. Keep an eye on those fuel costs on our operation. See you next time.